Welcome to Dependable Flame, where we explore vintage petrol lighters, ashtrays, tobacciana, and other useful mechanisms. Make yourself at home.
Today we are going to put a new wick in this Robin automatic super lighter that does not have one. This is a very tiny lighter with a very tiny fuel hole. It's going to take some doing to remove all this wadding. As far as I can tell, there doesn't appear to be a wick in the lighter at all.
So settle in and get comfortable as you watch me fumble around and grasp for fibers of cotton or rayon or whatever this particular wadding may be that may seem to be in my grasp but are still far from it at times. So it is a lot of meticulous work of taking a pick and sort of coaxing what you can of that wadding upward through the hole, just enough that you can get a hold of it one way or another. If you can get a hold of it with your fingers, then that is outstanding. Then you're not going to take the chance. See there how I get a hold of it and then the thread just pulls right loose, so then you're right back at square one. But the more you can get a hold of it with your fingers instead of a pair of pliers, then you are reducing the chance of you marring up the finish, scratching the plating, and possibly doing irreparable damage to the finish of your lighter. So the key is to be very deliberate. You'll see a lot of shaking motions. I am grasping the lighter very firmly in my right hand while also gripping the thread pretty tight, but trying not just to brutally pull it, but to provide some margin in the side-to-side movement that might allow more of the wadding to come actually up and out of the hole, which is what occurs at times. And you'll see there are long lengths of it that will be pulled off. I might come to believe that it was all going to come out in one strand, but that is very rarely the case. Extremely rare. I think mostly because it is packed in there so tight and been in there so long that it's just bound to tear as you're pulling it out. This particular lighter is probably the smallest, and I would think also definitely the smallest fuel hole lighter that I have ever re-wicked. It's not very big, and we're going to feel around in there. That's not all of the cotton, and I may end up losing one small strand of it back down in there before I go ahead and start in with the wick, but it wasn't blocking our way from the chimney to the fuel hole, the path that we need for the wire lead wick that we're going to use to re-wick this. So you can see that the wadding there is being coaxed back up toward the top. This is one of the reasons why I said to settle in and be patient with me, because this is the work of vintage petrol lighters. The monotonous, sometimes very frustrating work. It can also be extremely rewarding. And when it's not, it's usually because of some constraint or undue expectation that I have placed on the project. But it is very rewarding work, although sometimes frustrating. And very cool to take something so small that some people just throw their hands up at and decide that it can't be done. And with perseverance and creativity and logic, a path can normally be found. Different sizes of pliers are very important for this kind of work, and I could still use some smaller. It's been very difficult to find small pliers, so I'm always on the lookout for those kind of tools. That reminds me, I got an email this week from a Mr. Hollingsworth, and I just want to let you know, sir, I intended to reply to you. I have gotten distracted a couple of times, but definitely will reply to you over the weekend and appreciate your inquiry, and I will take you up on that offer. So I'll get back with you on the email, and that's something that will make an interesting video. He was relating to me some of the experiences that he's had with Flint, and also referencing one of Comrade T-Man's videos. So it appears that now that is as clean as we're going to get it. Like I said, there may have been one thread left in there, but we get our old wadding thrown away. We get our IMCO wire lead wick, and we'll go ahead and, I always do anyway, try to make an educated guess and form that wire lead into a shape that is likely to come out around the fuel hole. No reason to feed it down in there straight and then have to reach blindly with some kind of pick or something to try to grab it. Go ahead and get it as close as you can get it. But my guesstimates are not always so great. So usually there's a lot of fumbling around and twisting. Then you can see finally I work it up in there. And once you get the wire lead coming out the other end, then you can get a hold of it with a pair of pliers or your fingers if you can. I couldn't with this one, and I didn't want to take the chance of losing it back down that hole. This really seems like life or death stuff sometimes when you're in the middle of a project like this, because you can go from on the brink of success. I mean, literally, I'm about to light this thing up, to something going wrong and the entire lighter is worthless. Well, not necessarily worthless, but worthless to me or you or whoever is trying to complete the project right at that moment, because you don't have the parts that you need or whatever the case may be. Sometimes maybe you do actually ruin the lighter. That's very possible. But in this case, just some minor hurdles, and we'll get the wick pulled down. I like to leave it good and bloomed up top. I tried to do it on this one. We'll have to go back later and trim it up. We will discuss that more at the time. But you can see here where our main hurdle is going to be now is that the wick itself, we'll go ahead and cut this wick off first, getting a little bit ahead of myself. I can usually get 2 lighters out of one of those IMCO wicks, and especially with the lighters as small and petite as this Robin automatic super lighter. So split the wadding up into very small strands because, as I said, the wick itself is taking up roughly half of the hole, it looks like, just by being present in it. You don't want to feed all the wick down there all at once. That would not be advantageous and wouldn't lead to the most efficient function of the lighter. So I'm going to try as deliberately as possible to move a little bit of wick and a good bit of cotton down at a time. And there will be moments here where I'm just feeding the wick because there just wasn't any other way to get that stiff wick to go and still get the cotton to move down through the hole. So not the most fun or easiest lighter to do. You can see how thin I've got that cotton separated there, and yet it's still very hard to get it to go down in there. But we will get it on down. We'll edit a little bit of this out and finish it up, as the basics are all the same. No matter the difficulty, no matter how tight that hole is, in the end, what you're accomplishing is getting that wick as dispersed evenly as possible as you can, and the wadding itself packed densely so that you don't have fuel just sloshing around inside of there. So with that all properly packed, and you can see it is good and densely packed in there, not loose. Go ahead and squirt our Ronsonol in there. I've been using this can of Ronsonol now for over a month, and I really see no difference at all between it and Zippo fuel. I know that Comrade T-Man and ZF77 have both made videos about it. Maybe I need to run some actual tests of my own, but I don't have any problem with this. And for me locally, the Ronsonol, this 12-ounce bottle, I could get for about half what I could get a 12-ounce bottle of Zippo fuel at the local smoke shops. See this mini, petite, very colorful, decorated lighter? Blow the fuel off my hands so I don't catch us all on fire here. And we'll see if we can get this thing to ignite. Well, there you go. Wick was too long and the snuffer didn't seal it, and therefore we had a little bit of trouble getting that put out. But just keep your wits about you if anything like that happens. You just need to smother the flame, snuff it. So I should have gone ahead and gotten that wick manicured before I fueled it. That way I wouldn't have run into that problem, or at least it would have been less likely. But once again, live and learn. I make mistakes every day, and you just try to minimize them. So take a good pair of scissors. The way that these wicks are constructed, if your scissors are not sharp or if you do not have them properly employed, then they may split your blade sideways like happened there. And also I didn't have a good hold on it, so it sort of long strung part of it there. We'll go ahead and get that clipped off, get these excess fibers out of our way. Make sure that the wick is going to work in that particular position. And from my perspective, that looked like it was just about perfect. I can't wait to make the show and tell video and also take photos of this colorful lighter.
Another successful re-wicking story. Until next time.